folks. In this episode we learned some basic tools, and we're going to learn a few more with Mesh Mixer. Again, keep in mind there's just all kinds of different things that you can do with your work and your creations. One of the things that we didn't touch on is the ability to edit your creation. So for example, I'm going to hit my edit button here and hit my flyout. And I've got tools like mirror and duplicate and transform and align and plane cut and close cracks and etc. etc. And we're going to take a look at some of these, not necessarily all of them, because basically you can kind of experiment as you go along. But one of the things that we want to look at first of all is the transformation. Now the transformation tool is essentially your move, rotate, kind of scale features. And you can see the manipulator pop up there. Now when I grab it kind of in this zone, I scale. When I grab it this way, I kind of move. When I click and grab it this way, I move. And when I do this, I move. Now when I grab these, I have the ability to rotate, which you got to be cautious with rotation because that can really mess you up a little bit. And I can rotate this way, I can rotate this way, and all those movements are really, really cool. I also have these buttons back here that I can pull and click and don't always do something for me. I keep forgetting what they actually do, honestly. I don't play with them enough. Ooh, haven't seen that use before. That's pretty cool. So you can see there's a lot of different variations with the tools. One of which is the moving tool based on your need to create more space. Excuse me. Your need to create more space in your workspace, you could actually move things back and forth. Or, more importantly, adjust location on your build plate. For example, where my little creation kind of had those legs sticking out, I actually have him below what I would consider my build plate. So I might need to add that feature in to make sure that I have him established. And I can keep dragging it here. Go ahead and pull up your creation that you've done previously, sort of like I have. Pause the video and do a transform, move, rotate, and kind of scale just to kind of see what it's like. Pause the video and do that now. Okay. Now, one thing to always keep in mind is that when a lot of these tools are used, you have to accept it at the end for it to actually take. So I'll go ahead and accept that creation change there. Now you can see right off the bat that I've got a few little issues with the fact some of these little legs stick up above the plane there, and that's okay. We can address that later, especially when we do a plane cut. I can also take a look at my ability to duplicate. Now the duplication, of course, is going to ask me, hey, what do you want to duplicate? Do you want to do the sphere, the object, that kind of thing? And I just got something caught in my throat. Hang on. Sorry about that. Okay, so I have the ability to adjust features and to check out my object browser. This object browser is basically going to allow me to select things within my scene. So let's say I'm going to duplicate and one new object, create a duplicating tool, and every time that I do that, you see that I'm adding one onto my object browser. So what does this mean? Well, let's turn off some of these others and take a look. I'm going to use my transform tool to now grab this one and move it over. I'm going to turn this one back on. By that, I mean just click on these little eyeballs. Oh, there's that one. We'll transform this one and move it over here and accept. And then I'm going to turn this one back on. Oh, and we can see that I have three little mini things. So that's pretty cool. I could also have used the make the pattern feature to kind of work with some of this too. And I have no idea what it's doing there. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to pattern that kind of component. Yeah. So essentially with this process, your basic your duplication and your transformation, you can take creations and duplicate them. Now you've also got your set as a target, and by set as the target feature right here in this object browser, that means which one are you currently working on. And I can also select them and say trash and trash, and I also can duplicate, select them and duplicate again, and basically undoing what I just did by trashing it. So anyway, we don't do a lot of that because honestly in duplication it's a lot easier to duplicate our creations in the software that we're going to use for printing. So duplicating it here is not the big of a deal, but you may have a couple features that are going into a bigger model that are necessary. So just real quick, become familiar with the duplication tool. Go ahead and pause the video and do that now. Alright, so with the editing tool, we've got all kinds of other features to pop up. Let's see, there we go. The editing tool, we've got all kinds of features to pop up, including the ability to actually mirror as well, which of course would be the sort of the same thing of the duplication, but we'll take a look at it. Now it's establishing a mirror plane for us. So I'm going to grab this plane, I'm going to kind of drag it over a little bit, and I'm going to say accept, and now we have a mirrored version of our creation. Again, a duplication in some sense, but it's pretty cool to use if you need it for one particular case. Whoops, whoa, didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that, accidentally deleted my screen off, didn't mean to do it that way. I'm going to hop back into my edit, do my transform, grab my little buddy and drag him up to here. There we go. That's where we had it last time. And hit accept. So anyway, that was the duplication, or actually the duplication and the mirror tools. Again, with the mirror tool, you actually get to transform by basically controlling where your mirror plane is. So you can kind of see it dragging back and forth there and how it works. So I'm going to cancel that out. Now, align features, and we're kind of getting in a little bit too much design per se in terms of our creation. It is kind of assumed that we already have the majority of our design before we get here. But I'm going to let you have some fun with that kind of stuff and check them out. Make slices, you can do some slicing, you can separate it out, make some patterns. And all these tools may be subject to change, so they may change them as we actually do these videos versus what you see now. But your big ones that you need to be good with is the transform, possibly the duplication, and of course the plane cut. Now the plane cut is essentially what it describes. It is a cutting plane. And you can kind of see it right here. I click it on. I'm going to drag it back off my creation. And I want to rotate my plane cut as well. And I'm going to use the y-axis to do so. Noting that where my 90 degree is my target. And sometimes it's easier to use the gripping tool. It's like if you move your cursor out where you can get close to this compass shape, you can kind of see it on the screen there. It'll actually give you more control. So anyway, there's my plane cut, but I still don't like its position, so I'm going to drag it down some. And I'm going to cut my creations right across, and I don't have to necessarily line it up, but I'm going to cut my creations right on that plane. And you can kind of see it's reading out where my things are going to be cut. And you can see one leg's still not going to be chopped, so I'm going to pull this up just a hair. So I'm getting all my legs, so they're nice and flat all across the bottom. And the type of cut I'm doing, of course, is a cut. If I do a slice, well, we'll just see what a cut does first and go from there. So I do a cut, and you can kind of see the result. My object is nice and flat across all the little legs. We'll undo that, and I'm going to switch it to slice, and let's see the difference. Alright, now, here's how you can note the difference. See this tiny little ridge right here? It literally sliced my object and separated them out a little bit. Not a very useful feature, to be honest with you, so I'm not going to worry about too much. I'm just going to go ahead and say cut, because cut is typically what we need at this stage in the game. Usually we are cutting things to actually make them kind of fit a plane to work with. Now you'll notice and say, well, wait a minute, Eric, the thing's not on the actual base plate. That's an issue. And that could be, but I can always transform and bring it back down till it's on that plane. And you can see I'm still a little bit low, so I might need to take it up. And you don't necessarily have to get this perfect, because again, on your software that controls the actual printing, it will control some of that for you and place things as they need to be. But at least I created a nice horizontal cut across the bottom. Okay? Alright, so to finish up, once you go ahead and last thing, do a horizontal cut across, or a plane cut across your object to kind of slice it off at the bottom. Go ahead and do that now, and we'll see you on the next video.